I hate modern wizards. And I don't mean wizards that use iPads and segways and grow funky beards and dye their hair for no reason. Not that kind of modern wizard. The way that wizards are portrayed in a lot of mainstream, thankfully not even mainstream RPGs, but in a lot of them. I was just playing Tyranny when it was free last weekend. I didn't actually get a chance to capture video from it, but here's some from Pillars of Eternity because it has the same issue. And I realized something quite quickly. My character that was made to be sort of a frost mage armed with a big hammer, because, you know, frost spell, brittleness, hammer, that's a match made in heaven. I noticed that the default weapon the wizard sorcerer person came with, a staff, was shooting bolts of energy at the enemies. And not as an action that I was using, in the sense that I wasn't casting staff bolt on an enemy like you can do in Divinity Original Sin, which is a game that still does magic right for most of the time. No, I was doing it as a basic attack. And it's far from being the first game to do this. As I've said, Pillars did the same thing, if I'm not terribly mistaken and misremembering things. And Dragon Age did it, absolutely. It was one of the things that really annoyed me from that game because, well, that was a BioWare game. And up until then, BioWare had made Baldur's Gate. And Baldur's Gate had a system of spell casting that was superb. It made you feel like a wizard. It did sorcerers and wizards right because it stuck to the original blueprint of Dungeons and Dragons. Games nowadays don't really do that, and the system of rules used within Pillars of Eternity and Tyranny, the new No Fun Allowed system made by Obsidian, doesn't really try to imitate one of the core beliefs of Dungeons and Dragons. You can see that clearly because there's just one statistic that encompasses your damage for both physical attacks and magic, and that makes no sense. It makes about as little sense as Diablo 3 does, where if you have a gigantic axe on your back, suddenly you can throw hotter fireballs than when if you had a staff of fireballs are hot, but not as hot because this staff doesn't cause 50 billion damage like the axe. I'm not gonna rag much on Diablo 3, I've already said my piece with it, and it's not the kind of game that would really try and do magic right in this sense. The sense being that in old Dungeons and Dragons, magic was stronger than might. A low-level wizard would have a hell of a hard time living. Your spells were not all that great, they weren't all that useful, they weren't the omnipotent power of the gods, they weren't the eldritch energy of the deep beyond, struggling to not break the world as you cast them forth from your veins. You had color spray, which was could be useful. You had that orb thing, prismatic orb. I think prismatic orb may actually have been a bit higher level. You had magic missile, which is still a very dependable ability, super dependable. But when you were out of spells, because you would be out of spells, you would not be able to memorize, you know, all the spells in the world and use them constantly. When you were out of them, buddy, you better be sure you have a backup plan or somebody to back you up with a mean grin, a big sword, and a hankering for blood. Because otherwise, it's your ass. And probably that's all that's gonna be left of you once they're done with, well, chopping you to bits. There was a sense of danger, of extreme danger to being a mage. You're, let's face it, you had one hit point sometimes. You are frail as hell. You were not even a glass cannon. You were, at first, more like a glass pea shooter. Your powers, your abilities, your spells, they weren't super duper great at first. It was a struggle. You would be constantly outpowered, outpaced by every warrior. Unless you did really well on rolls and you put 18 into strength, and you could also deal out the damage. You're mostly resigned to hiding, coming up from time to time to throw a spell or two, and then hiding some more, maybe flinging some stones with a slingshot at the enemy. If you're really brave, you could go toe-to-toe with them with your quarterstaff, you know, teach them a lesson. This was a journey, because as you leveled up, the spells you would get would just murder everyone, and those that were not murdered would soon wish they were. Magic outpaced might in terms of power amazingly. There was a point where they would intersect when the decreasing efficiency of a warrior compared to the level and the increasing efficiency of a mage, again compared to the level, would intersect at one point where you could say that, yeah, the game is balanced here. Here is where everything works out fine, where everything is an equal fight. But that was just a small moment in time, because right after that, magic would continue to go up, and might, well, it had diminishing returns until they added more abilities in, I think in Baldur's Gate Eternal Ball expansion, they added Whirlwind, well, I think... Yeah, Whirlwind, they added and some more abilities to might characters to increase their usefulness. But still, with magic, you had so many options, so much raw power, so much fun at your disposal to destroy the world and remake it in your own image, or to cast Time Stop when you're fighting the Demogorgon and realize, oh my god, he's immune to Time Stop. I stopped time and I'm alone and stopped time with the Demogorgon. Hey warrior, can you... Oh, you're frozen out of time. You know, maybe being a wizard was not a great idea, but that was part of the fun of it. And a big part of the fun of it was that you knew where you started from. You started from being nothing. You started from being somebody that used to have to hide, to get out of the way, to let others do their job. Others who would also be you, because these were party-based games. Everybody was there was you. There was no need to have everything be balanced by giving the wizard, the sorcerer, the nerd of the group, a infinite ammo ranged weapon that let them attack every turn. I don't like that. That just takes away from the importance of being a wizard. If you can do damage every turn with a magic weapon that requires no ammo, that's just yours, your class's weapon, it really kind of makes the magic aspect a bit less important. You don't have to struggle anymore since the start. You don't get a full enjoyment of magic, do you? And that's the thing that Dragon Age did that I don't really like. But again, I'm going this by really old memories, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that in Dragon Age there were different statistics for determining damage of abilities and, well, damage of spells and damage of, you know, sword to the face. So I still think I did that right. With the pillars method, however, they're all in one statistic. Any character you make will be almost identical. If you're gonna make somebody that's gonna do a lot of damage with spells, that's the same character you're gonna make if you want somebody to do a lot of damage with a weapon, a sword. It decreases the kind of variety you can have in your character. It makes the game boring. You can't try and make kooky builds anymore, you know? You can't have a really super duper frail, barely able to lift a slingshot mage that can outthink God and cast spells at one point in his career that make Kairos look like a 2-bit conjurer, because the, I don't know, heft of your soul that determines the damage of your spells is the same statistic that determines the heft of your muscles as they plunge spears into places that shouldn't have spears plunged into them, which turns out is kind of every place. And the more games use systems like this, the less interesting it becomes. You don't have the journey of a certain class anymore, the journey of a certain character where each level felt differently, where each progression felt like you were playing some way else with a different kind of character. They start feeling kind of the same, a bit underwhelming. That is, if you choose to play as a mage. If you don't, then the majority of the game will not seem different to you. And to his credit, Obsidian did try and put different, more interesting type of classes into Pillars and into Tyranny. But everyone that was a spellcaster could still just point a stick at somebody and out came the magic missile without being cast, without it wasting a resource, without it being valuable. It was the scarcity of your ability to inflict magic damage that made every shot you hit, every success, every enemy you took down with magic seem rewarding. When you were small, when you were struggling, when you could have been absolutely creamed by a bunch of rats. And as time went on, well, you know, you could summon forth death itself. You could bring from the abyss a demon to slay all, and you yourself, if you didn't cast protection from evil. Oh, the fun we used to have, saving a game, casting circle protection protection of evil, from evil, and then summoning that big ugly guy, the Glabrezu or something like that, or Tonari, I think it was Glabrezu, and just seeing him run amok and kill everybody was so fun. Now you don't get to have that kind of fun, do you? Well, you do still in some games. You can do a lot of stupid things in Divinity, a lot of them. Don't remember as many in Pillars of Eternity, though to be fair, I never got to finish the game. I don't even remember how much I played it. It just didn't feel as magical. But who knows, maybe they'll change it back in the future. Maybe they already have. I haven't played Pillars of Eternity 2, so I don't know. Maybe now there are separate statistics that determine your ability to cast spells efficiently and with high potential of carnage and damage and effects, and there's a different statistic that's just for your weapons, for your, punchy, stabby things, and you can pull magic out of thin air and just have it be there, used as staff, and a 2-bit staff that seems to be kind of everywhere, and if everybody could use it, it's the meaning towards magic is what I'm saying. It should be rare, powerful, hard to come by, but when you have it, when you master it, it's a bit like the progression of power in Gothic. When you start out like everybody's bitch, the chickens will outright slaughter you. And then you raid and pillage like it's an elven village. And it's like many of these shows, this may just be the ramblings of an old man that's losing his memory for some reason. Keep forgetting why. But if it's not just my ramblings, leave a comment. Or even if that is, just leave a comment and say why you think it should be better that the classes are more equal now, that Might and Magic are sort of at the same level. Because yeah, I mean, why would you want to play as a warrior when you could be a mage and eventually get to have really good powers? But there was always a balance there built in. You had a limit of spells in D&D, but a sword could not be silenced, a sword would not forget how to be sharp. It would always work, and that in itself was the balance. Goodbye.